Good evening, everybody, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Adrenaline Impact GT3 series. We're at the first of a whole series of races we're going to hold for these GT3 cars here, and this will be the warm-up race here at Spa-Francorchamps, the toughest 7 kilometers you'll ever find in sim racing. I'm your host, Matthew Palmer, and we will be broadcasting live for this warm-up race. We have about 12 cars, although there are some cars still coming in there. Nice weather for the race right now. Temperature at 33 degrees Celsius, 18 degrees air temperature, and just a very good day to have the race on. We're in the qualifying sessions right now, and I believe we are in single qualifying. Open qualifying. Alrighty. So open qualifying right now, so they're going to have to look out for traffic. Surin Selvaraju right now of the Hermanos Veloces team driving that wonderful Ferrari 488 GT3 car around Les Combes and into the hairpin.
I think this is still the outlet.
Yep. So the cars will generally, for a GT3 car, they'll have to take 1 or 2 laps to try and warm up the tires. Yes, we've got the logos out there on the map, so you can see the cars that are currently out on the track as we speak. So Surin right now going through Pujon, very tricky section coming up here. Fanyas, right-hander, left-hander, still very fast in modern terms, but this used to be considered a chicane to slow the cars down, believe it or not. Now into the Stavelo corner right here. It was Campus and then Stavelo, then down the road into this fantastic left-hander here, Blanchimont, which in these cars really is almost a lift. You have to slow the cars down just a little bit to try and get it around there, but Surin manages to get it through at around 235 kilometers an hour, so really very fast indeed to try and get the car to go through there. And of course a lot of these corners are aero dependent corners, so the faster you go, the faster you can go around the corner, and it can be really challenging indeed in order to try and get that perfect line through. Coming into the hairpin here, coming out of it again and down.
Hot lap for Ilham. I think he's going to go for his hot lap.
Yep. Ilham is going to go across the line and start a lap.
I'm still on the bumper cam.
That's okay. So anyways, we've gone through the first corner there, which is La Sauce, and coming down through the old pit straight and into the most famous series of corners in motorsports, Eau Rouge, now through into Radion. Very challenging there. You have to use the perfect line to get through there as fast as possible. If you get it right in these cars, you can just about get through the lift, although for the first couple of laps I suspect we're going to see a little bit of braking. Now down the Kemmel Straight and into this braking zone. Very challenging through Les Combes. Really challenging to try and get the car turned in the right way. Again, there's really one perfect line to go through there, but another overtaking opportunity through this hairpin here. Very careful because it's downhill, so it's very easy to get the car oversteering through the exit here, and now into the no-name corner, as the locals like to call it. Now down, up through the gears and into Pujon, where the turn-in is absolutely critical. If you get the turn-in right at the right spot, it becomes a very easy corner to clear. Otherwise, it can be very difficult to try and keep the car on the course. Luckily, there's plenty of tarmac runoff area there to try and save the drivers. Through Fanyas, the first part of Fanyas and the second part of Fanyas, the change of direction, very important there to try and get that right in order to get a good lap time. Now into Campus. Very careful on the exit here because there isn't any tarmac out there. And then through Stavelo, again you want to use as much curb as possible, maybe even a little more on the exit there, and you want to be absolutely flat out all the way into the second part of Blanchimont. So Ilham Halabi here, he's going to have that throttle pinned open. You can see there, just lifts ever so slightly to try and get the car through the second part of Blanchimont, and now it's the run up into the bus stop chicane. The braking point here, critical for a good lap, and as you can see there, he gets the car turned in nice and tight so he can open up that second part of the corner and in across the line with a lap time of...
He doesn't
no
get it.
lap time.
But meanwhile, we have Shaiful on the pole for
Yeah.
provisional pole.
Absolutely. He is on a 217.386, while Mohaimin right now is there with a 219.852.
Let's go on board Irshad. Where's Irshad? Okay, here it is.
Irshad in the all-white Ferrari. Going around the course there again. He's just coming out of campus and through Stavilo. You got to be really careful, but really very aggressive over the curb on the exit of the corner there. Of course, if you go too far out there, there's a little tuft of astroturf or green paint there that really catches you out. You can find yourself facing the wrong direction very easily there if you push too hard. And going through Blanchimont then onto the curb and almost taking a big chunk of the astroturf there. Now we're coming into the natural grass of the bus stop chicane, but you won't be needing to trouble that too much as he comes across the line. Let's see if he's able to do anything here. It looks like he may have been on another warm-up lap.
Oh yeah.
So
Okay, let's go on to Shaiful Arifin. He's trying. Oh, he spun.
Oops.
Mohaimin. Okay.
So Hyman is out there as well. He's usually a little bit quicker.
Driving the AMG.
Yep, in the Johor livery, I believe. So that would be quite interesting. Now coming again out of campus, he looks like he's slowing down a little bit there just to make sure that the car up ahead is not going to impede him too much during the course of his flying lap. So basically another warm-up lap there for Mohaimin to try and get the track positioning, which is going to be very important through here, because if you're following a car too closely, well, it can have positive effects in terms of slipstream, but can have negative effects in terms of downforce generation through the corners. So you can have a lot of dirty air coming off these GT3 cars, and that can be very difficult to overcome. So around here, it really is a case of trying to make sure that the car is going to come around, make the fast corners as well. So he's perhaps still following Ilham Halabi, and he decides to pull off. Cheryl Norafuddin right now is going through the bus stop chicane there, and it looks like with 8 minutes past, there's only 2 drivers that have actually completed a lap. 3 drivers now. Cheryl Norafuddin manages a 2:21. He'll want to try and improve on that lap time, I am sure. Tuku Irshad right now, he is on what is hopefully a good enough lap to count as a qualifying lap now. Going through Blanchimont again, you have to be flat out through the first part here, and then set yourself up for a little bit of a lift going through there. He still manages to get through there at a minimum speed of 235 kilometers an hour. So that's the amount of downforce generated in these cars. Makes them absolutely amazing through the corners. And of course, these cars have the full suite of driver aids, traction control and ABS, which makes them really, really approachable cars to drive. Of course, driver skill still determines who is going to be at the front of the field and who is going to be at the back, but it is nice to have a look at that. I'm not too sure about that. It's very, very strange things indeed. I'm just going to go and have a quick look at the timing screens, see if they are agreeing with us. That could be an issue coming into this qualifying session, because of course there's a lot of places where you do have to be very aggressive over the curbs, and if you're too aggressive you will trip the little scrutiny, in-game sort of scrutiny sensors. And yeah, that could be a bit of a difficulty through there. Now we're with Jezrin Jali. He should be good for another lap. Farouz has also completed a lap now, so we're going to start seeing these guys complete laps fairly soon. The Jezrin Jali manages a 2:17.971. Now Jezrin, of course, JJ as he's known to his friends, he's very, very quick in a GT3 car, and he'd really be something to watch in this series. Tarmizi Yusuf there in the SRE liveried Ferrari. SRE, of course, being the community that most of these drivers have been a part of here in Malaysia, and what a fantastic community it has been as well. Coming across the line there, you can see 10 minutes have passed. Jazri Junos manages a 2:22.1 to put himself into 6th place, and Tarmizi gets himself into 7th with a 2:22.600. So a nice round number, but perhaps not as fast as he would like. And a lot of these drivers, like I said, they'll go out and with these GT3 cars, sometimes you need more than one lap to warm the cars up and get ready for that time attack. And that's Shami Aizan right now, who is going through Blanchimont at the moment. Again, much faster than all the previous cars so far. Yeah, but again, he was much faster going through Blanchimont, so this could be an interesting lap time to take a look at. Unfortunately, he just gets the car a little bit squirrely on the exit there. And across the line, let's see what he's managed to do. Unfortunately, that did not count as well. I believe that may have been looking at that time, the time disappeared from us on the exit of the bus stop chicane. And we know a lot of drivers like to go wide on there in order to try and straighten the cars up and go for it, but it might be tripping up the qualifying scrutiny settings there. But in any case, we have at 12 minutes our top 8 at the moment. Saiful Arifin is in first position, followed by Jazri Jali in second. Mohammed is in third, further 2 seconds behind. A second behind him is Surin Selvaraju, followed by Sharil Norafuddin, Jazri Junos, Tamiz Yusuf, and Fairoz Fariz. So this is a series for GT3 cars, and what that means is that they are production cars that have been modified for circuit racing. This is the top GT3 category. Sorry, the top GT racing category in the world right now, with the most amount of manufacturers and the biggest teams racing in it. Right now, Saiful Arifin, he is in the Audi R8 LMS. Jazri Jali is in the BMW Z4, I believe, and Muhammad in the Mercedes-Benz AMG GT3. And we also have the Roof as well, which has been grandfathered into the series. It's a very popular car to be driving around in. I believe the Ford is also grandfathered in as well. Two very quick cars that are actually comparable to these cars there. But there you can see when you lose the effects of losing downforce when you're going through the corners there can be very difficult to try and save the car. But Ilham Hlabi, a very quick driver, he will be driving the McLaren, and that'll be a very interesting car to look out for. And now we have Shami Aizan. Let's see if he's able to do another lap. And yes, he finally does manage to get into 4th place with a 2:20.111 in the Mercedes AMG GT3. That's currently our fastest Ferrari driver out there on the track right now. Surin Selvaraju of the Hermanos Veloces team. He is driving that Works liveried Ferrari car, or rather it's the AF Corsa livery, as Ferrari have a policy of not having Works teams in GT3 racing, but they do have basically client teams that are in effect Works teams. as they come across the line there. Let's see what Surin Selvaraju is able to do for a lap time. He goes up into third place, a 2:19.482. An absolutely flying lap time there from Surin. And now with the qualifying session over, do apologise there. Got a furball. But as the qualifying session ends, we have 10 cars that have set a lap time so far. Saifa Arifin is in first, followed by Jazrin Jali, Surit Selvaraju, Muhammad Mohaimin, Shami Aizan, Afiq Fadlan, Sharil Norafuddin, Jasri Junos, Tarmizi, Yusuf, and Fairuz Fauzi. Hang on. The screen stopped working there for a second. Let me refresh. Fairuz Fazil, there we go. Aha! So Kelvinder Singh is out there on track. Hopefully he'll be able to get a lap time in, because Kelvinder Singh is very quick in these sort of cars, and it could be quite interesting to see what he can pull off with this Mercedes. But it looks like he has to back out of it, so he won't be able to start the Yes, indeed. Omar Aziz, I believe, a new driver to the series. So, apart from the top 10 that you see there, we have Tuku Ershad was unable to get a lap time in. Omar Aziz, unfortunately, was not able to put a qualifying lap in. Ilham Labi tried so hard in order to try and get a lap time in, and Kelvinder Singh unfortunately just joined the server just a little bit too late. Unfortunately, but those 4 drivers will start, albeit at the back of the grid. But our top 10 is Saif Arifin, Jazrin Jali, Surin Selvaraju, Muhammad Mohaimin, Shami Aizan, Afiq Fadlan, Sharon Orfuddin, Jazri Junus, and Tarmizi Yusuf. And Calvin Ha of the 778 Autosports team has indeed joined the race as well. So this is going to be a rather exciting race there. I believe 15 cars are in the server at the moment, and I'm sure there's a few others that'll be trying to get in as well. So perhaps not the biggest grid in terms of adrenaline impact races, but this is only a warm-up race. The main race will happen on Sunday, and I believe that the servers open at 9 PM and qualifying and racing starts at 10. So do stay tuned to Adrenaline Impact for that. That's going to be an absolutely amazing race coming into that. But for now, we have the warm-up races there. And it looks like Tuku Ershad has managed to get himself into a lap. Ooh. He decides that lap is not good enough, so he decides to pull off. And I believe there is one car on track. Fairuz Fazil, yes. And I believe he is the last person out on track that has the opportunity to finish the lap. Definitely deep into overtime there. He'll be trying his hardest. He has to make this lap count. And unfortunately, the server has decided perhaps 3 minutes was a bit too much. But in any case, this will be our grid for this evening. Saif Arifin starts off in pole position with a time of 2:17.386 in second place. Jazri Jali is half a second behind him. Suri Selvaraju is in third place, 2 seconds behind the front runners. Muhammad Mohaimin's only 0.2 of a second behind in fourth place. Sami Aizan is in fifth, followed by Afiq Fadlan, Sharon Norafuddin, Jasri Jonas, Tarmizi Yusuf, Fairuz Fadzil, Ilham Hlabi, and Kelvinder Singh. Further back, we also have Tuku Ershad, Umar Aziz, and Calvin Ha rounding out our 15-car field for this evening. So this is going to be an absolutely exciting race up ahead. So now they're going to do a bit of a warm-up procession coming up to the start of the race. It's going to be a rolling start with these cars. These cars don't take too kindly to standing starts. And they're going to head in there. You can see some of the cars out there. Jasri Junus in that wonderful Castrol liveried roof. Porsche car. The two SRE Ferraris are side by side, and it really does look like there's going to be a lot of cars that have the possibility of winning the race. So that's a great thing with GT3, and the balance of performance between the different models of car means that by and large the cars are pretty equal, and pretty much all the marques have a chance of winning the race. So the safety car is there waiting for the field to come up. Surin is there. We're just waiting on our front row. Safarafin and Jasrin Jali are first and second. We're just waiting for them to load in and get ready. It's going to be an open setup race, so these drivers have been able to tweak and tune the car all week in order to try and get the setups just right. And this race is going to be very, very important for their data collection for the main race this Sunday. So we have Safarafin, who's going to start from the pits. So perhaps another last first challenge, or perhaps he just wants to. Right, so we have a whole bunch of. We have the front row of the grid electing to start from the pits. So very, very interesting indeed. It means that barring any catastrophes there, Mohaimin will be effectively in pole position. So he has control of the field right now, and he decides to go for it. And
green flag.
Mohammed Mohaimin has a massive jump on everyone else at the starting line there, and he goes for it across the line. The starters say it's good, and he is off, really running away from the field there. Mohammed Mohaimin is in first position, followed by Surin Savarajun Samir Aizan with Afif Adlan in fourth position there, and that is a massive gap off the start line. It looks like Mohaimin basically went flat out right from the moment the Porsche safety car decided to pull into the pit lanes there, and he has managed to get himself quite a large gap. He's almost far enough away to avoid any slipstream effect there. In third place, Shami Aizan, he's going to have to work really hard to keep Afik Fadlan behind him, but he's also got Surin right ahead. So Surin's going to be under a lot of pressure there. You can see he's just missed the apex coming into the Lecom section, feeding the car through very gently. Now onto the curbs. It's going to be a very challenging run around the course here. Sami Aizan going a little bit deep into the braking zone there. He just about avoids, or misses the apex rather. And now we just have a quick look at the replay there with Surin on a foot in. And he just gets the car a little bit wide, and once you get the car sideways going over the top of Radion, it is a game over. The car swaps ends on you, and that's the challenge of the Eau Rouge section of the track. Once you get the car sideways, that's pretty much the end of it. And he's pretty lucky to get away with a spin there, but that's going to be some damage on that car. He's going to have to go back into the pits. Meanwhile, Sami Aizan is really pushing that beautiful black Petronas car quite hard indeed. Meanwhile, another GT3 car, Jasri Junas, is trying his hardest to in the little rough to try and get ahead of this man here, Kelvinder Singh, who's really pushing the car very hard indeed in order to try and claw his way back up the field. Unfortunately, he's about 4 seconds behind the leading group there, the top 4 cars that have broken away from the main field, and it looks like Kelvinder Singh is going to have to really push hard in order to do something there. But it looks like Surin Selvaraju had a problem. Let's have a look at the replay. Just gets the car onto the grass, and unfortunately a little bit too quick through there, and that is quite a lot of damage there for Surin Selvaraju. Real pity for him, I'm sure. Quite a bit of damage on that car. He's going to have to go into the pits to fix that. That's the trouble with the AstroTurf. Sometimes you can take a little bit of it, but if you're going in too fast and you decide to turn in on the grass, that usually sends the car flying off the road. Meanwhile, Mohammed Mohaimin has managed to stretch to a 2.2 second gap between himself and Sami Aizan, who's managed to get himself up into second place due to Surin falling off the back of Mohaimin there. So Sami Aizan moves up into second. Afik Fadlan has moved into third place with Kelvinder Singh in fourth. Still battling quite hard is Jasri Junos, Tamizi and Aziz. Umar Aziz is really piling the pressure out on Tamizi Yusuf right now. Umar Aziz in the Audi R8, Tamizi in the Ferrari. and Jasri Junos in the rough. It's going to be a real challenge to see who's going to come out on top. It's the classic Adrenaline Impact midfield battle coming at you live right now. Lap 3. It's going to be very challenging indeed. It looks like Jasri had to back off there. The rough's classic tail out cornering characteristics there just caught out Tamizi a little bit there, and Umar Aziz also takes advantage of that. He goes up into 6th place. And who is that behind if not Ilham Halabi, one of the fastest drivers in the Adrenaline Impact series. He's going to be very, very hard to beat, and he's going to be definitely very hard for these guys to try and hold back. But Ilham Halabi, he's one of those drivers that likes to really follow a driver up ahead and try and make cold, calculated decisions, a real intimidation style of driving. He's going to go right up to the back of that car there just to make sure that Tamizi knows who's behind him before going out around the outside of Blanchimont. Will Ilham be able to make it work? He decides not to. Decides that discretion is the better part of valor there, but he has to really watch out there because there is a very, very quick Porsche there, Audi there of Saiful Arifin, who is a lap behind, I might add. Or it's the computer's not quite sure where to put him. Eventually Saiful Arifin gets put into his right place, so that's going to be a very interesting battle. Ilham Halabi and Saiful Arifin, they've been battling in pretty much every series that they enter. When one enters a series, it is pretty much a dead cert that the other follows close behind. Tamizi Yusuf now, he's got a real challenge on his hands to try and keep these two veterans of iRacing behind him. But if anybody can do it, he would be the man to do so. It looks like there's a battling with Mazis and Jasri Junos up ahead. They're going side by side and onto the grass before getting into the braking zone there. That was amazing car control from both Tamizi and Yus. It looks like Ilham spun. A rare mistake there from the driver, but there's two incidents there. You can see Jasri Junos and Umar Aziz were both on the grass coming into the braking zone there, and it looks like, unfortunately, under brakes, there was a contact with Saiful Arifin behind him, perhaps braking just a little bit too late, and unfortunately that means Ilham Halabi has gone out off the track. Very unfortunate indeed there, but that'll be interesting to see. That was a very exciting lecon for this lap. First we had Umar Aziz and Jasri Junos, who both went onto the grass trying to avoid each other and managed to control their cars. And through all of that, Ilham Halabi, I guess he decided to get on the brakes a little bit earlier, and Saiful Arifin there unfortunately didn't quite manage to get the car slowed down in time. Kavinder Singh is now up into 4th place, and he is now currently trying to push that beautiful sounding AMG GT3 car as hard as it'll go in order to try and catch up with Afif Adlan up ahead. So this is going to be a real challenge. Now the next question that comes to mind is pit stops. Will these cars have enough fuel to get to the end of the race? Aha! So that's going to bring another whole new dimension into the race there. That's, incidentally, that is the voice of our director, Kara Alang, who is not only manning the cameras, but feeding me bits of information as we go along. So, yeah, so that's going to bring a new dimension to the track, to the race. It's going to be very interesting to see what will happen with these guys here. Ooh, Tamizi Yusuf gets very, very close to the back of Jasri Junos, and it looks like these two are going to get into a little battle of their own there. Umar Aziz managed to get past Jasri here, and this rough here, it's a fairly old car. It's based on the previous generation Porsche, but it is, in the right hands, a very quick car indeed. To be in the top 10 in this company is very hard work indeed, and Jasri Junos really is pushing quite hard in order to keep the car right up there. But meanwhile, Tamizi Yusuf is in 7th place and trying very hard indeed in order to try and get the upper hand in this battle between 6th and 7th place. Meanwhile, Tamizi Yusuf also has quite a bit of a challenge behind him, and Jasri Judas goes off the track. He goes off the track there, and it looks like he just lost it going through Puhon. And that means Tamizi Yusuf gains another position, and so do the train of cars behind him. Meanwhile, Kavinder Singh has really closed up onto the back of Afif Adlan, and you can tell that the car is getting closer and closer. This might be yet another position gain for Kavinder Singh. Going through Blanchimont, he's trying every single racing line he knows to try and counter Afif Adlan, who's also trying every single defensive maneuver he can think of in order to try and keep these two cars behind them. One in the KSS livery of Kavinder Singh, one in the Petronas livery of Afif Adlan there. It's going to be a real challenge all the way through the race. Saiful Arifin, the man with the slightly bothersome transponder there, he is chasing Tarmizi very hard indeed. You can see him getting closer and closer, and in the background there, Jaswin Jali and Tukur Irshad also very close to each other as well. So this battle for 6th, 7th, 8th and 9th places is going to rage on all throughout the race there. You can see Sami Eisen pushing the car very hard indeed. Gets the car very squirrely at the exit of Blanchimont, absolutely on the limit there, and in fact he just goes over it. So that spin really does lose him a couple of positions there.
And he gave positions to Kelvinder to go to P2.
So Kelvinder is now up into P2. So Shami Azan there, and Afif Adlan was overtaken by Kelvinder Singh before that incident there. So Kelvinder Singh managed to get past Afif Adlan, and it looks like Shami Azan had that mistake. But now it is Mercedes-Benz 1, 2, 3, 4. AMG GT3s fill up the top 4 positions, with Mohamed Mohamed still in the lead with a massive 3.3 second lead over Kelvinder Singh, with Afif Adlan in 3rd place and Sami Azan in 4th. Plenty of gap between them. It looks like this is going to be a strategic race more than anything else, but Kelvinder is still going to push that car as hard as he can in order to try and catch up to Mohamed. Meanwhile, in the battle, the traditional now midfield battle, it always seems that in motor racing the best fights go on in the midfield, and it looks like Jaswin Jali has given up that position to Saiful Arifin, but he's also critically not falling back, and he might be able to try and hang on to the coattails of Saiful Arifin as he moves up the leaderboard. Very intelligent driving this, to try and follow a faster car behind them, try and pick up some secrets and techniques in order to try and gain the upper hand there. And it looks to be working as Saiful Arifin and Jaswin Jali begin to pull away from Tamizi and Irshad. Going through the bus stop chicane here, and coming up around the exit, Jaswin Jali, he hasn't, Saiful Arifin hasn't really let Jaswin Jali go there. It looks like this could be one of those situations where these drivers could find themselves in a position change very, very shortly indeed, especially as Jaswin Jali is close enough. GJ there is going to be close enough at the exit of Radion to try and get a slipstream working. It looks like he can close up quite a bit going through Eau Rouge and Radion. Now onto the Kemmel Straight. He's very close indeed. This could be an overtaking maneuver there for Jaswin Jali. They're going to go side by side. Jaswin going into the inside there. It's going to be an outbraking, a braking battle here coming into Les Combes, and it looks like Jaswin Jali manages to smoothly get that car up into 6th place. But Saiful Arifin, he now has the toe, he now has the air being punched around him by Jaswin, and of course Jaswin now has the pressure of having Saiful Arifin, one of our series champions, right behind him there, pushing the car very, very hard indeed. So this could be a battle that goes on for quite some time yet. Now, for those of you who are wondering, we'll be expecting these cars to get to lap 22. That will be the ideal pit stop for these cars. Some drivers will elect to pit early. I'm sure some drivers will try and stretch their fuel their fuel and tyres to the last possible minute there, but that's roughly the middle of the pit lane window there, so do keep your eyes up for that. Well, it looks like Judge Jelly is able to pull away from Cypher Ruffin.
There might be a strategy there. See, Cypher's times are 2:20s. He is maintaining that pace.
So yeah, it does appear that he might be backing off in order to try and make the fuel strategy work, and perhaps try and get that car deeper into the first stint before it gets into the second stint. Perhaps Cypher will be going for a late pit stop.
Let's go over to Mohammed.
Mohammed right now, he was in the lead for quite a bit there. He had a big gap, but it looks like Kelvinder Singh is going to be the first of the really quick guys who have managed to catch up with Mohammed. Mohammed there, he did a fantastic job at the start of the race in order to try and get the car up into the high positions there, but it looks like Kelvinder Singh is going to be catching him at quite the rate. Now, of course, like we mentioned earlier, strategy could come into this. Will Mohammed contest this? Will he not? He's now on a 2:21 lap time. Be interesting to see what Kelvinder's lap times are going to be like.
Kelvinder's time is 2:19, so he's pushing a bit.
Yeah, so it looks like the lead change is going to happen very shortly indeed. Kelvinder Singh perhaps going for an early pit stop strategy, and Mohammed, he pushed quite hard at the start of the stint. He might be thinking of going into the pits a little later on, but it looks like Kelvinder Singh is really closing up on Mohammed there, and I suspect there could be an overtaking maneuver very shortly indeed. 16 minutes are about to pass in the race, and so far we have Mohammed, Kelvinder, Afiq, Shamir and Jazrin, your top 5. 4 Mercedes-Benz and 1 BMW there, and the top 4 filled with Mercedes-Benz. The Mercedes domination continues, albeit in a different series, it seems.
What's your beverage today?
The beverage is a nice light glass of Ribena. At this point, half expecting a sponsorship deal from them. Good stuff. So now Kelvinder Singh, he gets a massive run out of the bus stop chicane there. He's going to go in on the inside, coming into La Source, and he decides to pull away there. But Mohammed's been spooked a little bit. He's run wide, and perhaps that might have been a deliberate move there by Kelvinder Singh to try and get Mohammed offline there. It almost worked, but didn't quite manage to do that. So now Mohammed is going to really have to pick up the pace in order to try and keep Kelvinder behind him. But they're really pushing that car. You can see they're taking as much curb as possible, going through Radion. Now onto the Kemmel Straight is going to be a slipstream battle. Mohammed goes all the way to the inside. Kelvinder goes all the way to the outside, and it's going to be challenge here to try and make an overtaking maneuver. Kelvinder decides that he can't brake as late as Mohammed through there at that particular time, and Mohammed manages to get a better midsection through Lecom, but the drive coming out of the corners, perhaps Kelvinder Singh is getting a little bit better drive out of the corners than Mohammed, but Mohammed seems to have the edge when it comes to apex speed. As you can see there, Mohammed just a touch faster and perhaps not through there. So through No Name, it was very, very equal indeed. Now Kelvinder is really close to the back of Mohammed there, having to brake just a touch early in order to try and make sure he doesn't come into contact with Mohammed's AMG GT3. Now Kelvinder is going to go in around the outside of Fanyas. Will he be able to make this work? This is going to be absolutely sensational overtaking there. Kelvinder Singh around the outside of Fanyas 1, converts that into the inside for Fanyas 2, and now he is in the lead. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a new race leader. Kelvinder Singh has managed to get himself up into first position, with Mohammed down into second place, but it's not over yet. Kelvinder Singh is really pushing the car very hard indeed, and this might come back to haunt him. This pace might come back to haunt him when it comes to the pit stop window. But right now Kelvinder Singh has managed to move up 11 places since the start of the race there, when he unfortunately couldn't get himself a good lap time. He joined the server just a little bit too late, but it looks like he's still going hard at it. But Mohimin is giving up. Mohimin is definitely not giving up. It looks like Mohimin has decided to try and bump the pace up a little bit. Perhaps the fuel calculations are going to go out the window here, as any racing driver will tell you. The best thing is to try and go for the race lead, even if it is before the halfway point of the race. 19 minutes have passed. Pretty soon we're going to start to see the first of the early stoppers coming in, and it'll be interesting to see whether Kelvinder can make it to that 22 minute and 30 second mark, which is the official halfway point of the race. And it looks like Mohimin's now really start to turn on the pace there. Kelvinder had to drop quite a bit of time at the last lap, 2:22. Mohimin managed to get a faster lap time there. They're going to go down into the braking for Lecombe. And will we see another overtaking maneuver coming up? Straight, this battle for the lead is really hotting up between the two Mercedes-Benz drivers around the exit of Lecombe and into the Brussels hairpin. Going to be very careful on the brakes here. And it looks like Kelvinder is really under quite a lot of pressure there. Could this be that Mohimin was waiting for Kelvinder to turn up to have a bit of a battle? Of course, in sim racing, sometimes battling for a position can be a little bit more fun than trying to fight for the lead. Of course, a lot of these drivers here are going to be really using this as a test session. You can see Umar Aziz is the first in the pits, followed directly behind by Tarmizi Yusuf. So that is the earliest of the pit stops at 20 minutes and 27 seconds. And that means that the pit window has now opened. So the drivers are able to come in for their pit stops and perhaps make it to the end. Although it could be just a little bit early for some of the drivers who are perhaps a little bit heavier with their right foot. Jaswin Jali there in 5th place. He is now battling with Shami Aizan. This could be a very interesting overtaking maneuver on the run up into Blanchimont. Jaswin goes on the inside, Shami Aizan goes on the outside. They're going to be side by side around the bend there, coming into the braking zone. And it looks like they're still going to be side by side, but Shami Aizan just manages to get the upper hand through there. Jaswin Jali is going to have to try and find another place in order to overtake Shami Aizan. Wow, this race has really come alive in the later stages, hasn't it?
This is battle of two Petronas cars.
Absolutely. For those of you who are wondering, the BMW, the Petronas BMW Z3 there is, from memory, a real car. And I believe it actually ran in Super GT and amongst other places. Dominic Ang, I believe, was one of the drivers. I do know Fyros 12 was definitely one of the drivers there, although I could be mistaken. And if I am mistaken, do leave a comment down below correcting us, or you can leave a comment down below telling us what we did wrong, or just to come in and say hi. You'll often see some of the other drivers who are unable to make the race. They'll be hanging out in the comment sections down below, so you can have a chat with your favourite drivers down there. Danish Iman there, a very quick driver there, Danish Iman. Good luck everyone. And yeah, hopefully Danish Iman will be able to join us for this Sunday's race. And whilst you're down there commenting and hanging out with the stars of the Adrenaline Impact series, do hit that like button, subscribe to us on YouTube, and do share the video with your friends and spread that sim racing love around. Jaswin Jali there now. Currently, as we go back to the race there, Jaswin Jali is really pushing Shami Aizan very hard indeed, and it's coming into this braking zone here. It'll be very interesting to see where exactly can Jaswin Jali get past Shami Aizan. It looks like Jaswin's got the pace. He's on a 2:19.9. That is definitely right up there in terms of race pace. Shami Aizan, they can see that that car is starting to struggle a little bit. The Mercedes is a very fast car, but it also does tend to eat up the tires just a little bit more. The BMW, a fantastic car for those of you who want to get into the GT3 racing. Very stable car and very easy on the tires as well. Now going through Blanchimont, lining up for that braking zone here. They're going to go inside, and it looks like Jaswin just unable to do anything there, but Shami Aizan makes a mistake. Shami Aizan makes a mistake, gets the car sideways, completely out of phase with the corner, and Jazrin Jali manages to get past and into the podium position. So that's the BMW has managed to break the Mercedes stranglehold at the front of the field there. Jazrin Jali really putting the pressure on Shami Aizan. Very Ilham-esque move there to try and get up into third place, and now it looks like Shami has a lot of pressure coming from Saiful Arifin, who's right behind him. If Shami Aizan isn't careful, he's going to have a lot of pressure being put on him right now. It looks like maybe he might have just chewed through the tyres just a little bit too much here, and Saiful Arifin might be the next car to try and put that Mercedes down one place. Absolutely fantastic stuff here. You can see Kelvinder Singh has managed to pull a 7.6 second lead on Afiq Fadlan, and that has meant that Kelvinder now basically has the choice of what sort of pit strategy to take. He can come in now, he can come in later. He has that flexibility, so this could be very interesting indeed. And he's still gaining on Afiq Fadlan there. You can see 8.2, 8.3 seconds, and looks like it's going to be a very comfortable running for Kelvinder out there at the front of the field. But Saiful Arifin is still pushing very hard, and Shami Aizan isn't too far away from the car up ahead. Jazrin Jali, you can see him out on track, and Jazrin Jali, he's been released. He is now chasing Afiq Fadlan right now for second place. So this is very interesting in the classic German battle of BMW versus Mercedes. And it looks like BMW's quickest driver there, Jazrin Jali, really getting up close and personal with Afiq Fadlan. Could this be another overtaking maneuver for Jazrin? He might get himself back up into second place. Remember, he started from the pit lane, I believe.
Yeah, he and Saiful, I think, both.
Yeah. So the top two cars, basically the front row of the grid, they elected to start from the pits there, and Jazrin has managed to get himself all the way up into third place. Now he was due to start second. Let's see if he's able to do it. Yes. Looks like Afiq Fadlan has to go into the pits. He was losing too much time on worn tyres and with not enough fuel in the car there, so he decides to tear into the pits, leaving Jazrin Jali out there in second place, which is the position he qualified in. But it took quite a lot of hard work for him to try and get into there. Ilham Hlabi also comes into the pits. He's gained 5 positions there. It looks like he's in a little bit of a tight spot. He might be lucky to come out in 8th, however. Shami Aizan there is still under a lot of pressure in third place, with Saiful Arifin in 4th. Saiful really pushing very hard indeed to try and get past the Mercedes of Shami Aizan. So that's very interesting with the race right now. The Mercedes-Benz stranglehold has appeared to crumble just a little bit going through the pit stops there. Afiq Fadlan has come out in the other Jonas Mercedes in 6th place. There you can see these two drivers now have a bit of an advantage because Mohaimed's 24 seconds behind. He's just come out of the pits, and that could be enough time to get into the pits and out without losing positions. So this could be a very interesting pit stop strategy indeed for these two drivers. Let's see if they'll be able to head into the pits there. You can see Mohamed has done his pit stop. He is precisely 24.5 seconds behind. Now that could be enough, that could not be enough for these two drivers to try and pit. If I were them, I would be tempted to go into the pits, but of course, if the car's still running like a train, you really want to keep the car out there for as long as possible. When you change to new tyres, you can really change the handling characteristics of the car. But in endurance racing, they try and keep the same set of tyres on the car for as long as possible. Not only does it save on pit stop time, but it means that the car is really keyed into the tyre. You have that feeling that if you can get the car running well on old tyres, you can really keep the driver in the car as well, and really learn how the car evolves. But it looks like Saiful Arifin has got a position now. Shami Aizan made another mistake coming into the bus stop chicane. It really is a real challenge for Shami Aizan to try and get through there cleanly, and it looks like he's having problems under braking. I believe Shami has still yet to pit. Saiful Arifin definitely has still yet to pit there. And it's looking like these two drivers are going to start wearing their tyres out quite a bit. 28 minutes have passed, almost 29 minutes. So these drivers are really pushing it when it comes to their strategy. Kavinder Singh is also still out there, out in front, trying to build as much of a gap as possible to Jaswin Jali and Saiful Arifin. I suspect they might be heading into the pits, if not this lap then the next. Kavinder is still out there, he's still able to keep it in the 220s, which is a very respectable lap time for a car on old tyres and with low fuel levels. Just goes to show that he's really gotten comfortable in the car, gotten comfortable with the tyre wear and the handling characteristics as the car has evolved throughout the stint. With these big GT cars, sometimes it almost feels like a shame to stick new tyres on it, but on the other hand, getting that grip from a fresh set of tyres really does help the lap time to no end. Jaswin Jali is still in second place, 8.9 seconds behind. He's still trying to push that BMW as hard as possible in order to try and catch up to Kelvinder. This could be a very challenging run there for Jaswin. He's pushing that little Beamer as hard as it'll go in order to make sure that Kelvinder will get out in a far less comfortable position. So half an hour has passed in this 45-minute race. That's 15 minutes left on the clock. Kelvinder Singh is in first place, followed by Jaswin Jali, Saiful Arifin and Shami Aizan, with Mohammed in 5th place. And you can see there Kelvinder has decided to come into the pits very late on in the race. Let's see how this works out for him. Jaswin Jali is now out on track and he decides to stay out. So Jaswin Jali decides to stay out. He's going to try and push that little BM as hard as it'll go in order to try and claw back the time that he's not lost, but to try and claw back the time that he's lost to Kelvinder Singh. Shami Aizan decides to go to the pits, but again, that's a lot of damage for Shami Aizan. Clip the end of that barrier there. That's going to really be very tough luck for Shami Aizan. Looks like there's quite a bit of damage to the car. Didn't want to turn left very well there, but Shami Aizan not having a great day at the bus stop chicane. I must admit, I quite often have those sort of days where you just can't quite get the corner right. And hopefully he'll be able to get the car into the pits repaired and then get the car out again. Kelvinder Singh has come out in 3rd place and still leading in terms of drivers who have had a pit stop. Right ahead is Jaswin Jali and Saiful Arifin, and it looks to me like Jaswin might be able to get in and out of the pits in time. He might not. It depends on how much fuel Jaswin can put in that car and still get away with it. It's all going to come down to pit stop time for Jaswin Jali. He is now leading the race, and Kelvinder Singh is about 24 seconds behind. Saiful Arifin is only 4 seconds behind, but Saiful Arifin also hasn't pitted yet. So this is going to be very interesting indeed to see how this works out in terms of pit strategy. Jaswin still pushing the car very hard indeed. He's doing 219s and really pushing that car as hard as possible. Ilham Labi down in 8th there. He is trying to push the car along as fast as possible. A very rare mistake from the two veterans, Ilham Labi and Saiful Arifin, that caused him to spin out there, but he's still managing to climb up through the leaderboards and try to get that McLaren MP412. The flames coming out of the car there, absolutely beautiful machinery. Jaswin decides to go into the pits. This is going to be the critical pit stop. This is for the race lead. Saiful Arifin also comes in. He reacts to Kelvinder's move there, to Jaswin's move there, and it's all going to come down to this. Can Kelvinder Singh get to the pit exit before these two drivers? Let's see, it looks like Saiful Arifin is able to get out ahead of Jaswin Jali. So Saiful Arifin has managed to pull ahead a little bit there. Kelvinder Singh goes around the outside, and it looks like Kelvinder has managed to get his car out in front of Jasrin. Jasrin has managed to make up some ground there. He came in with a deficit of 8 seconds before the round of pit stops. He's come out with a 6-second deficit, so he's managed to gain 2 seconds of pit stop, but unfortunately that wasn't enough to keep the lead of the race. So Jasrin now has to just push as hard as he can in order to try and keep that car up, but considering his best lap time is a 2:18.796 and he was lapping into 2:19s, that man is definitely driving one very quick BMW Z4 right now. So in the meantime, Kelvinder Singh has managed to pull off the strategy beautifully there. He still has quite a bit of lead there. He hasn't got quite the 1 lap pace that Jasrin has in his BMW, so be interesting to see if Kelvinder, with a new set of tyres and a fresh load of fuel, will he be able to keep ahead of Jasrin. It's quite a big gap right now, and with not a lot of time left, there's only about 5 minutes left to the end of the race there, so unless he drops a second lap on Jasrin, it's going to be very difficult for Jasrin to try and overtake. Meanwhile, Saiful Arifin is battling still with Mohamed Mohaimin, who is in that Mercedes. It's another German make trying to make a break for the top. Mohaimin really pushing hard there. And so far the German makes are dominating the race. The top 5 are Germans, with quite a lot of Mercedes up front. The Ferraris are not doing too well right now at the moment. Takuashad is the quickest Ferrari out there, but Surin's down in 11th, Calvin Ha in 12th, Fires in 13th, and Charmizi in 14th. And the Ferrari is usually a very quick car there, but unfortunately it looks like they may have had a few mishaps along the way. Saiful Arifin's now trying to go around the outside of Mohaimin. It doesn't quite work for him, but it means that Saiful Arifin's going to be very close to Mohaimin. They're going to go through the Eau Rouge Radion section here, through Eau Rouge, up through on top to Radion. And that's very close there. It's going to be a slipstream opportunity for Saiful Arifin if he can take it. And trust me, he is going to take it. He tries to go around the outside of Mohaimin. He's going to pick up a little bit of a side draft coming down Kemmel Straight. It's going to be an outbraking maneuver at the end of the straight here. He's going to try and go around the outside, but unfortunately Mohaimin just has that slight speed advantage going through Lecombe. But it's only going to be a matter of time. It looks like Saiful Arifin is really quick right now. Mohamed goes in to defend, coming into the Brussels hairpin. And they touch. There's contact. There's contact between the two drivers there. That's how close they're getting there. A little bit of contact doesn't hurt. A little bit of rubbing there. All part and parcel of the fun of racing these GT3 cars. So now Saiful Arifin is down in 4th. He's going to be pushing that car very hard indeed to try and catch up. Mohamed there breaks just a little bit later. Just about manages to make that stick, but Saiful managed to carry more speed going through the corner there. This is another overtaking opportunity here at Fagnes, and he tries to go around the outside. Just about not able to make it work. Saiful is trying every single opportunity to try and get past Mohamed, but Mohamed is resisting quite well indeed. 37 minutes have passed. Will he be able to do anything about this? And I do apologise, it was 10 minutes, not 5 earlier. But Jasrin is still going to have to try and find a second lap in order to overtake.
He's gaining quite good.
Yeah.
A gap of 5.6.
He's still gaining, but it is really a race against time for Jasrin Jali. If any man can do it, it's going to be Jasrin. As he comes across Calvin Ha, one of the back markers there. Really pushing very hard indeed in order to try and overtake the man up ahead. And it looks like they're almost working together a little bit here, because Jasrin's able to slipstream Calvin there. He'll perhaps wait until the Camel Straight in order to overtake Kelvin and just use slipstream effect there. Meanwhile, side by side, Saiful Arifin and Mohammed are going to go into Eau Rouge. 2 into 1 won't work through there, and it looks like he has to give second best there to Mohammed. But now again, he's going to be in the same position he was a lap before. Perhaps a little bit further back, Saiful Arifin is compared to Mohammed, but he could have come into the braking zone here. Let's see if he's able to do anything. Saiful's able to brake a lot later than Mohammed, because Mohammed was defending there. He couldn't take the ideal racing line through the corner there, and so you have to brake a little bit more in order to make the corner. Saiful is still chasing Mohammed, going very close to each other through the Brussels hairpin. Running a little bit wide now through No Name, as the locals here like to call it. And Saiful very close to the back of Mohammed. Going up through the gears, coming up to Pouhon. And it looks like they're very equally matched through Pouhon and through this entire section of track, but there's another overtaking opportunity for Saiful Arifin up ahead at Fagnes. Will he be able to try anything here? No, he has to close up again in order to try and make it work. That's the trouble with trying to make a overtaking maneuver work through Eau Rouge, is that you lose a lot of speed if you have to back out of it. Now through Campus, on the exit they're using all the curb. Now through Stavelo, really pushing that car hard now. It's all about trying to maintain momentum going into the bus stop chicane here and through Blanchimont. Again, just the slightest of lifts to try and keep that car going through the corner as fast as possible. You can't quite take it flat in these cars. You have to use just a little bit of skill in order to try and outdrive the car around there. Saiful Arifin very late on the brakes there, trying to get as close as he can to Mohammed. This is an absolutely fascinating battle for the last step of the podium. Of course, this is just a warm-up race, but as soon as those drivers get their hands on the steering wheel, it is absolutely go, go, go all the way from start to finish. Saiful Arifin really pushing Mohammed very hard there. You can tell Saiful is very quick through the last third of the track, and of course through here as well. Now Saiful decides to wait just a little bit, choosing to attack after Radion onto the Camel Straight, and it's going to be yet another slipstream battle up ahead there. It looks like they're much closer to each other. Saiful tries to go in for the outbraking maneuver around the outside. Again, he's just not able to do it. Mohammed parks the car on the apex there, and unfortunately it looks like Saiful Arifin will have to try again. Meanwhile, Jazrin Jali has now managed to hack the gap down to 3.8 seconds. And they're beginning to come across traffic here, and this is going to be very, very interesting indeed to see if they're able to do anything here. Jazrin coming around the outside, and there's Kelvinder Singh, so Jazrin can see where Kelvin is, and it's going to be game on right now. 3 minutes left on the clock. That's going to be about 2 laps perhaps. We're going to see this go up to lap 20 or maybe 21 if they're absolutely flat out, but I think it will be lap 20. Meanwhile, Saiful Arifin still battling with Mohammed. This is absolutely nail-biting stuff there. Jazrin has Kelvinder in his sight. Saiful Arifin is still battling with Mohammed. The top positions are really up for grabs. Anybody can have it now. Saiful pushing very hard, going through the Blanchimont corners there. Really throwing the car onto the curb edge in order to try and get through the corner as fast as possible. Hard on the brakes. Just about makes it through the corner there. And it looks like Saiful might be able to make something work before the back straight here at Spa. Mohammed defending quite a lot there. Saiful decides to go around the outside. Will he be able to make it work around the outside? It kind of goes out of the corner side by side. It's all a drag race right now. Let's see who has got the better drive coming out of La Source and into Eau Rouge. It looks like Mohamed just managed to scramble enough drive going up through there, but now Saiful Arifin is going to be fast enough in order to try and make an overtaking maneuver work. They're right on the curb there, and they're going to be pushing as hard as they can in order to try and get as much kilometre an hour down this straight. Looks like Saiful Arifin is now surely close enough to try and do something with Mohamed down the end of this straight here. Mohamed's been defending for the last 10 minutes. They're going to go side by side. Will Saiful be able to do it? He has managed to get the car side by side. They touch. There's a bit of contact through there. They're still side by side, and it looks like Mohamed just about managed to make it work through there. That's going to be a real challenge now. And Saiful's going to be trying as hard as he can to make another overtaking maneuver work. There's still nothing between them. Just 1/10 of a second, 1.5 tenths between them. You could not squeeze a smart car between these two cars right now. Coming through Pouon there, and it looks like they're not going to try anything through Fanyas this time around. It looks like if Saiful Arifin is going to be able to overtake Mohamed Mohamed, it's going to have to be onto the Kemmel Straight. Look at how close Saiful can get to Mohamed going through Stavilo there, and the check flag is out and it's being waved. Jasmine managed to get the gap down to 2.6 seconds, but it's not enough. Kelvinder Singh comes across the line to win the warm-up race here at Spa. Jasmine Jali so close, yet so far for him in second place. But who's going to have third place? We're going to dive down into the bus stop chicane. It looks like Mohamed still has it. But Saiful Arifin, oh, there's contact. It's going to be a drag race up to the line there. It's going to be nothing between them. And it's Mohamed who gets through just ahead of Saiful Arifin. Afiq was not too far behind. Afiq Fadlan manages to get in 5th place. So Tuku Ershad comes across in 6th. That was an absolutely exciting race indeed. Wow. If the warm-up race is this exciting, can you imagine how good the race this Sunday is going to be? Shami Aizan is now going to go across the line in 7th place. He was in the podium positions for quite a bit there, but unfortunately just not quite able to do anything in the second stint. Ilham Labi again.
Quite unfortunate for him today.
Absolutely. So close to getting his last to first challenge completed there, but unfortunately had that spin going through Lekum. Joshua Junos driving around the venerable rough car.
He was in the top 10 in the start of the race.
Yeah, and considering he's driving quite an old car, this car is no longer racing in real life. It's only really used in national level events nowadays, but as you can see in the right hands, it can still be very quick. And that's a rough leading 4 Ferraris home, so very, very exciting stuff indeed. You can see he's playing with the car, throwing the car around a little bit there. You can see he's having fun with that car, I'm pretty sure of that. And down through the bus stop chicane. Beautiful Castrol livery as well. Sort of reminds me of the sleeker GT4 back in the day. So he comes across the line to finish in 10th place, followed by Farouz Fadzil in 13th. Just a little bit of understeer there going through the corner and across the line. So that is your race. It's going to be very interesting indeed to see how these guys get on Sunday. But for now, for the warm-up race, Kavinder Singh is in 1st place, followed by Jasmine Jali, Mohamed Mohamed, Afiq Fadlan, Tinku Ershad in 5th place. Shami Aizan is in 6th, followed by Saiful Arifin. Omar Aziz doing quite well for himself to get up to 8th. Ilham Nabi is in 9th, followed by Jasri Junos, Surin Savaraju, Calvin Ha, Farouz Fadzil, Tamizi Yusuf, and Sharon Morafuddin, unfortunately unable to finish the race in 14th and 15th place. So Spa never fails to produce an exciting race here, and it looks like it bodes well for the race here this Sunday. Started off a little slow, but once everyone got up and running, it turned out to be a very exciting race indeed. The battle for third and fourth there really intriguing indeed. So as we see the slow motion footage of Kelvinder going underneath the famous banner at Spa. It's been an absolutely amazing race so far, and battles all the way up and down the leaderboard. The classic midfield battle there, and Kelvinder was actually involved in that, but he managed to graduate right up into the front of the field there. Fantastic stuff, and it just goes to show how close all the cars are as well. So that will be it from us here for the warm-up race, but do tune in on the 11th of October, that's this Sunday, for the race. The servers will open at 9 PM Malaysian time for pre-practice 2. We will be live at around 9:30 to 9:45, so do stay tuned to Adrenaline Impact for the broadcast. This Sunday is going to be absolutely amazing. 10 o'clock is qualifying, followed immediately by the race. So it's going to be on Facebook and YouTube as well. So do tune in to those channels for the latest in sim racing and the real world of motorsports. But for now, that's all from our director Kara Alang and from myself, Max Palmer. Special thanks to all the drivers who took part this evening, and hopefully we'll see you this Sunday. Ta-ra!